Combining runes and tarot changed my life. It seems like an overstatement, but it's actually really what happened. That my tarot spreads were just showing me what was going wrong in my life, what needed to change. And then when I combined the runes, I had the healing energy to actually make some changes and take those action steps. So this video is all about how I did that. We have 3 basic principles, or maybe 4, plus there are like 3 sample spreads, so there's a lot of good stuff in here. And if you stay till the end, there are a couple bonus scenes. There's a bonus scene about healing power of the runes in general, plus the amazing and wonderful Elizabeth Berkley of Willow Root Tarot shares an extra technique at the very end. You can simply pull some tarot cards and also pull a rune, but I decided that you probably didn't need a class on doing that because that's kind of just like treating the rune as though it were yet another tarot. I've personally found in working with myself and clients that the real power is to give the runes a job that is not the same as the job of the tarot cards. Give your tools a role. So like, for example, you say, okay, the tarot cards I pull are gonna, and you pick one of these. They're gonna give me information on what will happen if you like predictive tarot and you're good at that. What I should prepare for. What is beneath the surface? Or what role do others play? And obviously you can pick any question you want for tarot, but the point is, when you're first combining the two, decide that the tarot cards are going to have a certain job. They're going to give me information about XYZ. What is going on in this situation? And then decide that the runes are going to provide a different type of information. And again, it's not all 4 of these. These are just some suggestions. Okay, the rune is going to approach the energy. Tell me what energy I should approach the situation with, into that situation. Okay, or the tarot card is, what should I prepare for? What should I be aware of is happening? And then the rune is the action step that I'm going to take this week to actually do something about that. The tarot says it's going to tell me what's going on beneath the surface if you want more clarity. And then the runes are going to tell me what personal quality or gift I need to harness in this situation. Or the tarot says, what role do others play? And the runes are going to tell me what behavior would be helpful on my side. It's like layer the runes on top for extra meaning. What is it that I want to achieve? What's my next level up in my divination practice? So like somebody said, I would like to let go. I feel like I'm trying to let go of my anxiety. So that would be a terrific thing to ask the runes, right? You pull your tarot cards for your information, and then you say, the runes that I pull are going to tell me what I need to release. What do I need to let go of in this situation? And then that way you're coming away with specific information that addresses the needs that you have, instead of just being like, well, now I know why this is happening, but I'm still stuck in this like frustrating circumstance, or all this awful stuff is still happening to me, or whatever it is. Oops. Runes are great for clarifiers. They work really well, especially because they're so simple. Perfect. This is the reading I put together when I was creating the class, because I wanted some guidance. So we're going to go through these one at a time. And so my question that I asked here is, how can I have a great attitude about this class? Because I tend to get kind of nervous. So this was like what do I need to focus on to really do a great job putting this class together and to not be so nervous? So the first one here, we have the Lovers. And this is actually my rune set, by the way, which I painted on the back of some cowrie shells. You can purchase a rune set. You can also just make your own. I think Elizabeth painted lima beans with a Sharpie for her rune set. You can also just cut out pieces of paper or cardboard off the back of a cereal box and use those. This rune is called Yira, and it represents the harvest year. So it's like cycles. or the idea that you have to sow if you want to reap, putting in work, putting in the effort, and then reaping a reward as a result of that. So what I looked at this, I said to myself, okay, I think the lovers for me represented my relationship with you guys, my audience, the other people who were going to be giving the class, who would come and see this class. And I thought, I need to not be afraid to put in the work. I have this message in my head that's like, well, you're going to waste your time. Nobody's going to come. This isn't a good, efficient use of your effort. And I was like, okay, this rune, the harvest year, tells me not to be afraid of putting in the work to build a relationship with my audience. So since my runes here were like, what should I do? That was the runes, the action step. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to put this class together and make all these slides and just trust that I can build a relationship with people and produce something that is valuable for them. Now, the next one, this rune is Ingwaz, which represents the seed. That's literally, it means a seed. So it's like beginnings, nurturing from a small sprout, you know, what's growing in your life. I read the Ace of Cups here as an opportunity for emotions, like the beginning of new emotions. I mean, the action step I took on this Ingwaz thing was, don't be afraid to just begin. Like, don't worry about how it's going to end up. Don't think about, oh, it's going to be this giant thing. And I have these visions of like a six class, like tarot and runes, tarot and pendulum, tarot and Lenormand. Don't think about the future yet. Just think about how you're going to start. That was my action step, because you're just planting a seed. You don't have to worry about the entire plant. So it's interesting because the Ace of Cups is actually like, it is related to the meaning of Ingwaz, since they're both about beginnings. The ace is, you know, the beginning of the tarot. And the same thing is true of our next pair. So the Wheel of Fortune is sort of about the turning of the year and how life keeps going and things are making progress. The wheel is always going forward, bringing new things into your life. And the rune I got was Rider-Waite, which looks like the letter R and is the sound of R. And it literally means a wagon. And it represents sort of like embracing the journey, the need to evolve, moving forward, making progress, dealing with bumps in the road, but not letting your progress be stopped by obstacles and that kind of thing. So what is an action step that this Rider-Waite might be telling me to take about starting this class? Or if you guys want to do this reading for yourself, if you've got some question, you can hazard a guess about what sort of action step Rider-Waite might be. The action step that came to me as I did this reading was be ready to evolve. Don't decide that you've got to get it perfect at the beginning. Like, you're going to tweak it, right? The journey's going to keep going. So it's not like you have to get everything right and it's going to be static. Once you do the class and you see what happens, then you can always morph it and re-give it or expand it or contract it or whatever else it is you want to do. So encouraging, right? You can do it. You can bear the weight. You can keep going. And I think this is in part because, you know, runes really come from this era of life in the Dark Ages after the collapse of the Roman Empire, when people didn't have a lot of resources and they didn't have a lot of money, and a lot of their old infrastructure was decaying and crumbling because the Roman administrators didn't keep, you know, the roads anymore. They're about how to survive in a challenging environment. And I think we really need that today. Yeah. So the next one, the final one I had here was the Devil, which I interpreted as being about setting yourself free and actually making a choice about what you want. You guys may know that the figure on this card really isn't the devil, it's the god Pan, who's about sort of like enjoying the goodness of life, but not getting carried away into hedonism. And then this rune is called Gibo. It's an X, but it's pronounced with a G, and it represents like the crossroads. So the idea of reciprocity, like you have to give, but then you take. It's related to the idea that there are choices and you make a choice about where you want to go and you end up sacrificing some things, but then you end up gaining other things. So it's a rune about the idea of, like, you know, figuring out what your priorities are, knowing that you may not get everything you want and that you'll have to give something to other people, but that other people will also give things back to you and that you will be rewarded in terms of being able to make those sorts of connections. Sarah is talking here about this cycle, about the beginning and how you're just, planting seeds and you're going to harvest something later. But to realize from the perspective of these crossroads and give and take, it's like the cycle doesn't end with the end of this class. Because I've given to you guys, you have given to me, there's more classes ongoing. And I felt like it was very much of a whole, like, don't judge all of this by like by one end result. Well, on Sunday, June 12th, this is what happened. It's like, think of this as an ongoing give and take where you're constantly planting seeds, constantly building relationships, and you're constantly receiving from all the things that you've given. So this is something I call a clockwork spread. And the question is, how can I thrive this? And I put year, but it could be this week or this month or whatever it is that you want to do. So what you do is you draw one card for whatever your time period is, one card per day, one card per week. I did a monthly, this is a year reading. And so I did 12, one for each month. And you decide that the card represents what's going to actually happen, like what am I going to be confronted with in this month? And then the rune represents the energy that you should use to respond to that. So, and then the point is you go through and you write this down, one for each month, or you put this on your calendar. Maybe if you have a calendar at the beginning of each month, you write the rune and the card and whatever your interpretation was. So this is one of these, like, let's look ahead and let me see how I can respond to best be prepared. This would be my reading for November. So for November, I got the Blasted Tower. And one of the cool things about this deck, the Hermetic Tarot, is that it's got a whole bunch of astrological symbols and it's got Hebrew letters and all kinds of stuff. But we've got the Blasted Tower. And then this is the rune Tiwaz, which represents like the North Star, your goals in life, masculine energy of moving forward and going out there and getting what you want. So like I might read this as saying, okay, in the month of November, something's going to fall apart. There's going to be something that, that you were trying to build that doesn't build, or something that you were a part of that is now no longer there for you. Big changes are coming your way. And what I should do in response is, like figure out what I want in the situation. So I don't need to go around and like clean up everybody else's mess or try to rescue other people. I'm going to need to figure out where I need to go. What am I doing with this? It's time to move forward in my own desires and not try to just like keep things together for everybody else. Excellent. Let's say we wanted to read this instead of what's the energy to respond. We wanted to read this as, what do you need to release? Let's say that's the question we asked. What am I going to need to let go of in order to respond? Yeah, the thing that came to me was let go of crying because you didn't get your way. Yeah, that's exactly right. So you see how the runes become powerful depending on what question you've asked them to answer. And this is why we can work with spirit with this way, because once we work with spirit, we're like, okay, here's what I want to know. How is this rune going to answer the question? Here's another example. I call this the Who's Doing What spread. And this is another cool tarot deck called the Minkiate Tarot, which is a regular tarot deck, plus it has a bunch of extra cards for the zodiac signs, the virtues, and then the elements of air, earth, fire, and water. So this is the Who's Doing What, and the question is, how can I work with these people? So what you do is you draw one card for every person involved. So like, let's say you're on a team of people at work, or you're dealing with some family issue, and you've got one card for your boss, one card for your assistant, one card for your work partner, and then one card for like your boss's boss. And then the middle card is like for you. Where are you? And then you draw one rune for each of the relationships. And so the question you're asking is, how is this person interacting with me here? Or what is my relationship with this person? Now, I will mention that people often are concerned about reading for other people without their permission. And I think that there are ways that you can cross lines with that. So, I don't think it's good to spy on other people's lives or snoop in or try to like judge them. You know, you don't want to pull a rune and be like, I knew she was lying to me. Like, you know, be wary of that. But I do feel like if your intentions are good, it is okay to say, I'm pulling a rune so that I can understand how to work with this person. I'm pulling a rune to improve our relationship. I'm trying to see what their perspective is so that I can figure out how to work together. That's my personal ethics as a reader. So the card is like, what are they doing? And then the rune would be like, why are they doing that? Where does this motive come from? What's underlying the interaction between the two of us? So like, for example, we can see that the top card here turned out to be faith. And then the central card was Leo. And then the card in the middle, this is a rune we haven't seen yet, but it's called Hagalaz. And it represents hail. And it's kind of like the rune equivalent of the tower in tarot. It's about destruction. Something's being destroyed. But the thing about hail is that it flattens crops, which is a big loss. But it also cuts down on the competition. And so new things are able to grow. So it's like destruction that makes an opportunity for something new to be grown. So if I were going to read this like in a work situation, I might read the questioner here as like the Leo is like, you know, just trying to do their thing, lots of energy, good intentions, acting in a charismatic sort of way. And I would read this top card as like the boss, being like, okay, well, the boss is acting in good faith, right? From what she thinks is best. And so if she's creating destruction of some sort, you really want to look at that in a positive way and think, what do I need to let go of? Or instead of being frustrated with my boss, how can I see the opportunity that I'm getting from letting go of whatever she's destroying? Like, what new things can I have to grow in this place? So the fact that we have Hagalaz here suggests that maybe this isn't the most comfortable relationship, but a spread like this could really help this central person feel better and understand that her boss is coming from a good place, rather than just getting frustrated or feeling the pain of this challenge. I just wanted to share from my experience working with runes. I have found runes to be very helpful in working through trauma, healing trauma. And again, it's the magician Hagalaz combination that made me think of this, because there's been many times when I pulled out a rune, like I might pull out Uruz, which is about strength, and been like my inner self is like, I don't feel like a very strong person. I feel like life just happens to me and I'm not strong. It's like those elemental energies are so pure that they elicit those trauma triggers in me. And so the point of Hagalaz there is it's like you're breaking down and you're letting go those old parts of you that are triggered by the idea of having personal power or being strong, or like, I can't embrace the unknown. Bad things might happen to me. You know, Perthrow, I spent months just meditating on Perthrow, trying to become comfortable with the idea that I didn't ultimately have control over everything that happened in my life, because parts of me were so scared because of bad things that have happened in the past. So it's like in those moments, you're like, man, it's working. It's working. I'm bringing out these deep energies. I'm discovering what needs to be healed. I get a chance to nurture myself and say, you know what? The unknown is beautiful. The unknown is like the potential of the womb. The unknown is like the bud of the flower before it blossoms into the full rose. So if you hit those trouble points and you're like, oh, this is painful, I don't know how I feel about this, it's like move forward into that, you know, and whatever level is comfortable for you. You don't want to freak yourself out, but consider the rune's healing power as a way to do exactly what Alexis said, of stripping down those old conditioned parts of you, or the parts that are working around your trauma and just dealing with it, instead of actually diving in and healing it. And that will allow you to build from your pure self or your deeper essence, so that you don't have to be weighed down by all of these conditioned things that have happened to you anymore.
And there's another way to use the runes and this makes me think of it because I don't want to start rambling. If you just have your deck, whatever deck you choose, whatever modality, flat in front of you, and take your runes, my lima beans, if they fit, whatever, or take a few that you're drawn to. You don't have to have all 20 odd up there. I have rested them on the deck. I know you don't have a visual, they're just resting on the deck. And just take your deck, just a bit, and they'll start falling off. And the one rune, or maybe the two, however many you're comfortable with that are left, or what will serve as your clarifiers. Now, this is exactly how I would, this is how I would use the runes in that case, because it's such a big question. I'd shake it. Maybe there's one, maybe there's two runes. And then I would draw my cards. And without worrying about where my runes were, I could keep them in my hand. The 3, 5, 7 cards that I use, these will be my clarifying points. These will be my focal points, regardless of the question. This is where I really want to focus. The runes are going to help me get there. But I wanted to point that out too, because I will say that it's an intuitive journey with my use of the runes. Getting an idea of how to use them is like when I pick up the cards, oh, I'll use them that way. That was different. You know, it doesn't always work, but it's always fun. But using the runes to clarify these important points, these questions that you have that you're not sure when you get 5 cards, but they're not all necessarily flowing in the right direction or a good one. Those runes will help to kind of navigate you. That's what I'm finding them useful for. But, okay, there you go.